I hate the recall Kinsect skill, but dude, I was playing it today on stream and I was testing it. I hate that skill. It's so inconsistent as to whether or not you get your heal. With what we're seeing in this demo, I would pick up that skill and I'd throw it in the trash where it belongs. Like, just be like, get that. And it probably, out of all of the skills that I used in all of the weapons, that is the only skill that I'd be like, dude, put that skill in the trash. Like, I hate recall Kinsect.
I've never been so wrong in all my life.
Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and it's time for another one of my weapon previews. This time around, we're taking a look at the controversial Insect Glaive, which has been on the receiving end of a lot of negative feedback from the Monster Hunter community. This is hardly surprising on account of the fact that its new Silkbind moves are not particularly intuitive to use. I mean, in a recent stream I did on Twitch when I was testing the Recall Kinsect ability, it seemed everyone in my chat had a different reason as to why the skill wasn't working properly. But beyond that, there's also the fact that the weapon's moveset is relatively unchanged from Monster Hunter World. It's actually a little bit worse because this demo doesn't feature one of Iceborne's signature moves, the downward thrust attack. Now, from trailers, we know it still exists, but it's now a Silkbind attack and no longer a part of the weapon's base kit. Then we also have the horrible Kinsect they gave us in this demo, which doesn't automatically attack when you fire the pheromone, doesn't create dust when it attacks, and if it moved any slower, it would actually start going backwards. You put all that together, and there's a recipe for disaster for this weapon right there. Now, in the Hunter's notes, there is a mention of Kinsects auto-attacking when you fire the pheromone and leaving behind the dust clouds we had in World. But for whatever reason, the Kinsect we got is a lazy bastard and doesn't do any of those things. So needless to say, you can expect a much different Kinsect experience in the final game. But having said all that, how do I feel about the weapon in this demo? I think it's actually really good once you get used to how the Silkbind skills work, and more on that later. Now, I know you guys will be quick to bring up numbers and say the weapon simply isn't performing in this demo, but you have to remember that we still don't have elemental damage, or as Gaijin likes to say, these aren't even real weapons. And Insect Glaive actually benefits greatly from elemental damage in its aerial combo, so you have to keep all of that in mind as well. But anyway, as per usual, let's get down to the basics, and with the Insect Glaive is actually going to be a little bit different from the rest of the weapons due to the nature of its extract and how much they actually change your moves. For that reason, I'll be doing this preview in an actual hunt scenario against a Rathian, so sorry about any whiffs ahead of time. Okay, so let's get this started. There's our target right there. Now, one of the important things about the Insect Glaive that you should be aware is depending on whether or not you have the red extract, which extracts are like a key aspect of playing Insect Glaive, it is going to change your moveset. So your starter moveset is not particularly important because you're going to be very rarely using it. What ends up happening is right before you actually start an engagement, you'll want to collect all of the extracts, or at least the red extract, so that your moves are more efficient against the monster. So I guess it's important to mention that the Kinsect button has actually been changed. Whereas it used to be the left trigger, it is now the right trigger, or in the Switch controller, the ZR button. But that's the biggest change when it comes to Kinsects, because most of the other stuff works pretty much similar to what you would expect. So you can send out your Kinsect from a sheathed weapon by simply pressing the right trigger. Kinsect will move directly forward and pick up an extract. You can see the Kinsect's stamina gauge right there, decreasing as the Kinsect is in the air. We're going to recall the Kinsect by pressing the right trigger and A. And then with the weapon drawn, we're going to press right trigger and X to send out the Kinsect, just like we would usually send it out in world. And we just got the orange extract. Going to send it out again. And now we have the red extract. Now, the way that the extracts work, for those of you that never played Insect Glaive before, you can think of it like this. Red extract, offense. It changes the way that your moves work, and it makes you deal more damage, basically, right? Orange extract, defense, prevents knockbacks. I believe it actually increases your defense. And on top of it, when coupled together with the white, it also gives you earplugs in this game, which is pretty damn nice. I don't know what level of earplugs we're going to be getting, but they're good enough to prevent roars from Mizutsune, so that's pretty good. So again, red extract, offense, orange extract, defense, white extract makes everything else better. Okay, that's kind of like a simplistic way to look at it. But anyways, so how do you go about attacking the monster? Well, you have your ground combos and your aerial combos. And naturally, we're going to start with ground. Now, you have your X combo, which is fairly simple. It gives you 3 attacks and then return back to its original state. Looks like the Rathian is leaving, which is perfect so that I can show you guys the rest of the combos. You have your A combo, which is kind of like repositioning attacks, because basically you can be like doing something with X and then you can press A and it repositions you backwards, sideways, kind of like however you want. It kind of allows you to swap the weapon around. But ideally, the way that you're going to be doing ground glaive most of the time is going to be X and A and A, because that's going to be like one of your best combos. And then you can kind of like repeat that. So X, A, X, A, and we actually lost red extract, and you guys can see that our moves are much more sluggish. But yeah, that's like the basic bread and butter combo for the Insect Glaive. Now let's go ahead and go collect our extracts once again. And I realize that for some of you guys are gonna be like, oh wow, so a big portion of this weapon is just like running around collecting extracts. Well, no, but I'm doing quite a bit of talking and explaining how the weapon works in an actual hunt scenario. You're not gonna have to run around all the time, just like collecting extracts while talking about it. But do keep in mind that extracts are very much a key aspect of the weapon. Also keep in mind that you don't just send out your Kinsect with right trigger and X. You can keep sending him out and it will continue attacking. So like if you spam X, it actually continues pelting the monster with more and more damage, which is actually pretty fun. And, we'll just have to see how much damage insects actually deal in the final game. There were actually people in World that would just like, we saw plenty of runs that would be like Kinsect only runs, which is like almost a fun little mini game. But I'm more curious to see how dust clouds are going to work in this game, if they're going to be just like World and all of that jazz. Now, another thing that you can do, and we'll just use the Great Azuchi that's here because this particular Rathian is not going to work with us. Another thing that you can do is you can press the right trigger to send out a pheromone against a monster. So right there, that marked a specific portion of the monster. That means that whenever you send out your Kinsect, he's going to target that specific area. So like if you need to target a specific area that's hard to target, you can usually do that, even though like once you get used to how the weapon works, you will usually do it manually. But it's another little something that you can do. And eventually when Kinsects are actually working properly, you doing this, so just like going up to a monster and planting your pheromone by pressing the right trigger, will automatically, or at least it should, the way that it worked in Monster Hunter World, it will automatically send out your Kinsect to start attacking it and leaving dust behind and doing all kinds of stuff. So it's still an important move to keep in mind. Now, besides all this, you've probably heard from a lot of people that ultimately the Insect Glaive is an aerial weapon, or at least it is in big part an aerial weapon because it has a lot of aerial combos. Here are your options when you go aerial. You press ZR plus B, takes you to the air, then you can press X and that deals one of your basic attacks in the air. And the reason why this particular attack is so good is because it deals mounting damage. You can see that by the blue glow around your attacks. And as you can see, a couple of aerial attacks and boom, she's ready to be ridden, which makes the Insect Glaive a very good weapon to reliably get mounts and monsters. Now I'm just going to instantly dismount it. I'm not even going to go for the triple dismount because that's not the point of this video. But the other attack that you have while in the air is if you press ZR and B, you can do A. Now, this attack, I like to call it the typewriter attack. Now, the reason I say that is because, the old-ass typewriters that we used to have, the way that they work is you would type a bunch of stuff, then you would go cha-ching, and you would do it all over again on the opposite direction, which is kind of like what you can do with this attack. So you go A, then you reach the end, it jumps back up, and you do it again. and then you reach the end, jumps back up, and you do it again. So it's very much an aerial combo that you can keep repeating so long as you land the last move of the attack. So I showed you guys that when you're in the air, you have your X attack and you also have your A attack. What I haven't shown you all that much yet have been dodges. So while you're in the air, you can also dodge by pressing B. And you can kind of like combo these things together. So say for instance, you can jump up in the air and then dodge to position yourself better, then do an A attack. And then while you're coming down, you can press an X attack to come back down. And then you can go into a ground attack that I've showed you, which would usually be the X plus AA. And did I not tell you that this Rathian is a complete wuss? I mean, I just want to like really highlight it. I mean, Capcom, please do something about this AI, because like it's been like this all morning. Every single time I try to hunt Rathian, I touch it twice and it runs away. And it's very frustrating to try and do weapon preview videos, Capcom. Anyway, I'm sorry about that little outburst. So let's talk a little bit more about the weapon. So the whole thing about this weapon is your ability to go into the air and then come back down and swap between the two styles. Now, if you're min-maxing in World, usually you'd have people just bring out like really high raw damage Insect Glaives and just focus almost exclusively to the ground. Personally, that's not the way that I like to play. I like swapping between the two styles. I like going up in the air and then I like playing a little bit in the ground. I feel that, you know, it brings a little more fun to the hunts, but you know, if you really want to get the best times, then yeah, usually in World, the way to do it, that would be ground, and it would just be like triangle, circle, circle, triangle. Is like really position yourself in a way that you can just like keep repeating the ground combo and smash the monster into oblivion. Although with the introduction of Iceborne, you also had that downward thrust move that we don't really have in this demo. So that's another one of the things that you have to look forward to if you're someone who is an Insect Glaive main. But now comes the moment that you've all been waiting for. Okay, Rurikhan, tell us about those Silkbind abilities. Well, first we're going to be talking about Recall Kinsect, because I myself said that I would throw this ability in the trash if I could. And I actually very much regret that statement, because after playing a little bit more with Insect Glaive, I found myself loving that move. And why? Because it lets you really stay offensive. Now, the one thing that's important to understand is like someone will tell you, oh, in order for that thing to work, your Kinsect needs to be out. No, it doesn't. In order for that thing to work, your Kinsect needs to have an extract. No, it doesn't. The only thing that skill needs in order to work is for you to be close to the monster. So long as you're close to the monster and you press ZL and A, the skill will work, it will heal you, and it will also bring you an extract. But you don't need to have your Kinsect out. It doesn't need to have an extract equipped. You don't need to like, you know, you don't need to jump through 50 million hoops. You just have to be close to the monster. Now, having said that, right now, that ability does not appear to be working all that well in this demo, because I've had multiple situations where quite simply, I did not get my extract, I did not get my heal, I did not get a bunch of stuff. But if you practice it, it's great. It's got invincibility frames, it's got a healing component, and it can be done pretty much on a dime, and it only costs one wire bug. So it is a very good defensive ability if you're someone like me that likes to stay on the offensive and likes to stay right on a monster's face. This is one of the reasons why I play weapons like Lance and Gun Lance, because I just like being up in the monster's face at all times. And that's essentially what this ability allows you to do. You go up to the monster, you punish it for as much damage as you possibly can, and when the monster is about to do something to you, you basically counter it with the Recall Kinsect ability. And good God, I swear, if this friggin' Rathian runs from me one more time, Rathian, I'll end your existence. Okay? Anyway, let's try to get the wide extract. Okay, we got the wide extract. And now let me just show you guys a little bit. Let's see if I can do a couple of dodges with this. Like, look, she's about to do her jump. Boom. Move out of the way. Get a heal. Get an extract, depending on whether or not your Kinsect actually hits her. It's friggin' fantastic. It also works on roars. Again, get out of the way. So it has invincibility frames, but you don't necessarily need to get to the invincibility frames like you have to with the longsword, because even if you don't get the invincibility frames, you can get out of the way. But now the other important thing is, like you saw there, is like not only you can dodge out of the way, but you can also follow it up with further combos from the Insect Glaive. So for instance, I can do this and then jump back in and then do an aerial attack. Or even better, I'm going to go up to her. I can do this and then press A and go right into an aerial attack and then follow it up with whatever else I want. So once you get all of these things together, invincibility frames, a heal, an extract, and, you know, distance from the monster, and you can counter back with another one of your aerial offensive abilities, it is a friggin' fantastic skill. So I was 100% wrong when I said that I would put it in the trash. I quite simply did not understand how the skill worked because everybody was telling me something different. Your Kinsect needs to have an extract. Your Kinsect needs to be out. Your Kinsect this, your Kinsect that. You don't need anything, dude. Just be close to the monster. Boom. Done. So that is one of your Silkbind abilities. And the other Silkbind ability I also wasn't particularly impressed by because they basically just said, oh, this is the Silkbind Vault. It sends you into the air. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can already do that by pressing ZR and B. Like, I can already do Vault. I don't need a Silkbind art to do that. But what is important here is the angle. So if you pay attention, you're going to get launched at this angle. And if you immediately press X after doing it, I guess you can see the advantage. Like, look, we even got a tail chop. That was actually awesome. I wasn't even trying for it, if I'm going to be honest. But hey, there you go. But the other important thing about this vault is not just that it sends you at this angle. It's also the fact that you can do it after you've done other combos in the air. So like, for instance, if you go into the air and you do your regular attack and then you land it and you dodge, you can go and you can do the Silkbind Vault and you can kind of like reset the amount of jumps that you can do because there's usually a limit. And you know, the stamina here is actually preventing us from reaching that limit in the demo because we don't have skills like, I believe it was called Constitution or whatever, the thing that slowed down your stamina consumption. So you don't really have as much airtime as you could have in Monster Hunter World, but still, you can see the utility of being able to like reset your jumps, right? Just go like this and then reset it with the Silkbind thing. And when you combine that with the ability to basically just come up to the monster and do stuff like heal yourself with the other Silkbind ability, it's actually really, really good. Like, I was surprised at how good it was once I started getting into the flow of it. It just becomes an extremely chill weapon that you can just go up to a monster and just kind of like get to work on it. You can go into the air if you want to, which makes it extremely safe. You can be right in the monster's face with your ground combo if you want to. And you have counters like right there. If I had actually delayed that second attack, I would have been able to pull off the recall Kinsect ability. It's just one of those things that's going to require some practice to be used properly, very much like Foresight Slash. And it also allows you to counter while not necessarily having to land the invincibility frames during an attack like you have to with the Silkbind, not the Silkbind, with the Foresight Slash, right? Like, look at this. Yoink, yoink, yoink. It's like you can do so many punishes with it that it feels like an incredibly satisfying weapon personally. And it, you know, I know that people are going to have different opinions, but I just feel like I myself didn't give it a fair shake in my first couple of hunts. But naturally, whenever I'm doing these weapon preview videos, then I spend some more time with the weapon, actually looking into the potential of each move and trying to use it on different scenarios. And that's when I came to the conclusion, like, this move's actually really good. It just feels like it's been poorly named. I mean, you name one move Vault, which you're just like, so now I can vault into the air twice. Yay. I don't know what you could name it, though, to be honest, to make it more interesting. But it's like the fact that you can do it into the air, the fact that it's got, the fact that you can do it while you're in the air, the fact that it's got a different angle that allows you to do a much more aggressive downward attack with the Insect Glaive makes it a much better ability than I initially gave it credit for, without even talking about the fact that it can kind of like reset your aerial combo. Like, it's crazy. And then on top of it, you have this other ability, which is essentially like an easier to use Foresight Slash for the Insect Glaive that also heals you and allows you to counter a monster even if you don't land it during invincibility frames. Like, I think those are actually great abilities, but, you know, I still understand that people are probably upset over the fact that you no longer have the downward thrust, and you're looking at the numbers in the demo, and, you know, they're pretty small when it comes to the Insect Glaive, and I understand you know, these weapons aren't real, we don't have elemental damage, there's all of these things. But when you're playing the demo, you're maybe not considering all of those things. But either way, I'll be happy to hear from all of you Insect Glaive mains out there that actually don't like the weapon in Monster Hunter Rise. Let me know why in the comment section down below. And that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.